The moon has an elliptical orbit around the Earth, and so the distance between the Earth and the moon varies throughout the year. It is on average about 382,000 kilometers away from the Earth. When the moon is closest to Earth it is called perigee. When it is furthest away it is called apogee. When perigee occurs at the same time as a full moon, you get a supermoon. The position of the moon can be found in the almanac in the same way as finding the sun. The hourly rate of change of GH is less than that of the sun, but the declination changes more rapidly, so the D value is usually larger and varies from hour to hour. There are two other columns involved when working out a moon sight, which you can see in the picture above. These values are HP and V. V is another moon correction, which is always added to the increment for the G of the moon in the increments and corrections table in the almanac. The moon, just like the Earth, always has one side illuminated by the sun. It is just the moon's position in relation to the Earth that determines which side of it we see. Sometimes we see the shadowed side and the illuminated side at the same time, which is how we get to see the different shapes. A new moon is the beginning of the cycle. This is when you can't see the moon at all. This is when the moon is positioned roughly between the Earth and the sun. The illuminated side of the moon is on the sun side of the Earth, and this means we only see, or don't see, the moon's shadowed side. From there it grows into a crescent shape or less than half, and gradually grows into a half moon, or first quarter, and then gibbous means larger than half, until eventually it becomes a full moon and then starts decreasing again. Waxing means when the moon size appears to be increasing, and waning is when it is decreasing. When the moon is full, it is when it is positioned roughly in alignment with the sun and the Earth on the opposite side of the Earth, meaning we see its entire illuminated side. The moon's orbit is about 5 degrees off from the Earth and sun orbit, so this is why the Earth doesn't block out the sunlight when the moon is full. When this does happen, then this is called a lunar eclipse. After a full moon, the appearance of the moon starts decreasing again. The moon is then said to be waning, when it is decreasing in size. You can also use the moon in certain phases to show you north or south. If you draw an imaginary line between the sharp points on a crescent moon, and then continue the line down towards the horizon. If you are in the northern hemisphere, then this point on the horizon indicates south, and if you are in the southern hemisphere then it points to north. This works best if the moon is high in the sky. The moon rises in the east and sets in the west, so you can also use this as a guide for a basic compass direction. Tides are caused by the gravitational pull of the moon and the sun on the waters of the Earth. The moon is closer, 200,000 nautical miles, to Earth than the sun, 81 million nautical miles. The moon has much more influence on tides and tidal current. Actual tide is close to theoretical tide. The differences are due to factors like irregular shape of land masses, varying depth of the sea, friction between land and water, meteorological conditions, for example wind, atmospheric pressure, precipitation, varying moon-to-Earth distances, varying sun-to-Earth distances, and varying declinations of moon and sun. We can see from this slide that the times of high water precede the times of moonrise and moonset more closely than sunrise. This slide shows the relative positions of the moon and the sun around Earth through a lunar month. Top left is the new moon, when the sun and moon exert gravitational pull together on the same side of Earth. Bottom left is the full moon, when the sun and moon exert gravitational pull at the same time, but on opposite sides of Earth. The top and bottom right show the first and last quarters of the moon, when the sun and moon exert gravitational pull, but at 90 degrees to each other. Here we take a look at the heights of tides and the tide ranges for Port of Spain for a lunar month. There are usually 13 full moons every calendar year. They occur about every 29 days. The high tides at new and full moon are the highest for the month. The low tides at new and full moon are the lowest for the month. At full moon, on the 7th of May, the sun and moon are on opposite sides of Earth. Water is being pulled toward the moon and pulled toward the sun. The second highest tide, 0.90 meters, of the month, occurs on this day. The tide then falls 0.45 meters. The GH of the sun and moon, At 12 midnight, are Sun, 0 degrees 51.0 minutes, and Moon, 192 degrees 26.4 minutes. And their declinations at 12 midnight, are Sun, 16 degrees 44.7 minutes north, Moon, 08 degrees 29.7 minutes north. The new moon is on the 23rd of April. The highest tide, 0.97 meters, of the month, occurs on this day. The tide then falls the greatest range of the month, 0.68 meters. At new moon, the sun and moon are on the same side of Earth and both are pulling water toward them. The GH of the sun and moon, at 1200 hours, are Sun, 0 degrees 26.3 minutes, and Moon, 354 degrees 51.7 minutes. And their declinations at 12 midnight, are Sun, 12 degrees 46.8 minutes north, Moon, 10 degrees 25.4 minutes north. The lowest high tides and the highest low tides occur at neap tides, during the first and last quarters of the moon phase.